But first I'll introduce you to Steve Miller, who has been coordinating a magnificently big puzzle project, and he will tell you all about it.
Right, good afternoon. Right, well, I'm here to tell you a bit about the Jabberwocky project. Hopefully you've all seen it at the registration desk, the big monstrosity that's sat there.
Keep the mic right in front of you.
Right, okay, yeah, keep it up like that. That's better?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, yeah. So, I'm going to tell you a bit about the Jabberwocky project. As you can see on the screen here, it's 15 artists working from 6 different countries working together for 18 months. There's a brief list of what I'm going to take you through, but we won't linger with that, we'll just crack on. So, the initial concept, it shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody really, that the inspiration was the Apothecary's Chest by Robert Yager. This had 12 different puzzles from 12 different artists in it. We wanted to go a little bit better, so we had a few more people into the mix. And but what we wanted to do, we reviewed the actual Apothecary's Chest itself, and went through and looked at the good points and bad points of it. Obviously, it's an absolute thing of beauty, but there are a few drawbacks. So we sat down and reviewed it. The main drawback we had was the complexity of it. There's a beautiful mechanism in the back that means that you can, in order to advance the mechanism, you have to solve the puzzles in sequence, taking pieces out of the puzzles, slotting them into the mechanism, and then advancing it on. The problem with this is it means that you can't show somebody any particular puzzle. It may take you 3 hours to actually extract a puzzle to say, here, have a look at this one, one's really cool. We thought that was a bit of a drawback. So we came up with a name for our project, where we'd have a challenging solve, with a multi-level solves to it, but that it would be capable of being left in a near-solved state, so that within a few moves you could access any part of it and demonstrate any particular element you wanted to a friend who was visiting. The other drawback that, with the Apothecary's Chest was that all the individual solutions were presented as little booklets or just separate sheets. We thought we could do a better job than that and actually do it as an in-character book, so it was all published together and it would look nice, but also it would actually fit into the chest and be easily accessible. So the initial theme was going to be a pirate's treasure chest, and all the individual puzzles were going to be the actual treasure within the chest. And the theme gave us a number of things we could have a look at, so like skull and crossbones, cannons, and other things associated with pirates. However, once you've gone down that list, it's sort of starting to run out of things to do with pirates. So it was getting a little bit limited. In our initial discussions, I sat down with Peter Hayek, and he said, I want to call my puzzle Panda Snatch. Now, I didn't like that because it wasn't particularly pirate-orientated. So, and also, it doesn't actually mean very much. I mean, I understood it was a reference to Alice in Wonderland and the Jabberwocky poem, and I knew it had something to do with that. But I know there's a number of Carol experts in the audience here, and you all know it well, but some of you may not. So hopefully, if the idea works, I shall play you the poem.
'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogroves, and mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the awful blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous day, calloo, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rats outgrabe.
Right, so, well, as you can see from that, from the poem, Bandersnatch itself, the only thing you know about Bandersnatch is that it's frumious. And that really doesn't tell you an awful lot. The message I was trying to get across to people is if you have a name for your puzzle, it needs to reflect the theme. So there needs to be some sort of mechanism within your puzzle that is associated with the name of the puzzle. It can't just be something random. But having looked at the Jabberwocky poem in reference to what Peter was suggesting, I thought, actually, there's a lot more here. This might actually be much better than the pirate theme that I started off with. So we had a look around to see what there was. I mean, I'd seen the Disney movie many years ago and the Tim Burton versions, but I'd never actually read the original stories. So I went out and bought this huge book here, which is the Annotated Alice. So it's got the original stories, some additional chapters in it that weren't originally published, and lots of notes by Martin Gardner and others that really brought the whole thing to life. So, having looked at that, I see that there were an awful lot of rich sources of inspiration that we could use as themes for different puzzles, lots of different characters, many situations. So plenty for us to pick from. I very quickly claimed Jabberwocky itself, because there's a heck of a lot in the poem, and so there was lots of stuff I could go with. I did tour around the exotic wood importers, couldn't find any wood from the tum-tum tree, unfortunately, but I would have settled for Tolji wood at a push. Right. We came up with a base agreement that all the contributors would work to. It was discussed, and then we eventually agreed to it. And the basics were that we'd all make the required number of puzzles. In return, we would receive a Jabberwocky chest populated with all of the puzzles. And then we'd make a little bit extra so that we could actually recoup the costs of the project. So we needed to establish a teamworking, and for me it was important that we have some sort of democracy. As it happened, we had 15 people involved, so I would try and pose all of the issues, either whether they're my views or not, to the rest of the team, allow them to vote amongst themselves, and if we happen to have a split vote, then I'd have the casting vote as the 15th person. So I've never had to use my casting vote, so that was quite useful. In order for teamwork like this to actually work, you need to have similar motivations from the different people in the team. So they really need to be puzzle enthusiasts, and to be doing it for the love of it, or for the love of the craft itself. So you need to all have a similar motivation. Right, in order to communicate well, we used an online project piece of software, which is called Basecamp. And it's an online collaboration tool, and it allows us to do all sorts of interesting things. So we can communicate individually. We have the campfires, which are the sort of short notes, things that we talk to each other with. We've got the bigger, longer threads where we discuss things in more detail. We've got the documents and files where we can put up pictures, designs, and plans, and ask for feedback on those. And then we've got the actual to-do list. So we've got the initial prototype delivery and the final delivery marked on there. Now, we set some very challenging deadlines. The original contributions were to be done by December 2016, and then the full set of manufactured puzzles were to be delivered by Star Wars Day, of course, May the 4th be with you, earlier this year. I didn't actually expect everyone to meet the deadlines, because a number of our team have reputations for not quite getting there on time, so I purposely set the deadlines made them quite harsh, encouraged as many people as I could to actually meet the deadlines, and I was very impressed that most people did. In fact, one of them was actually delivered almost a year early. I actually collected one set at Kyoto last year, which was actually mind-blowing. I mean, there were a few that came in late because life gets in the way, and I appreciated this. That's why I set the deadlines early, encouraged people to meet them if they possibly could, but understood that yes, we all have lives. There are other things that get in the way. So, having set the deadlines, it turned out that I was going to be the one that let everybody down. My original plan was to start doing some general work on it around October, November time in 2016, but life got in my way, and unfortunately I didn't actually start work on even the prototype until Christmas Eve in 2016. I then worked every spare hour that I had through till the middle of February, and I finally got the prototype done, and that included working half of Christmas Day, and basically every evening, every weekend, every spare chance that I had to work on it. Having done the prototype, the four of us who were in the UK got together, reviewed what I created, came up with a few tweaks and changes to the design, and then I moved on to doing the full production. Yeah, so my plan was to actually try and deliver all of the chests ready for IPP this year, but and in order to do that, I'd actually negotiate with my employer and arrange to take every other week off work throughout June and July. So I'd be working 1 week in the day job, then spend a week in my workshop working on Jabberwocky, then another week back at work, week on Jabberwocky, etc., all the way through. With that sort of schedule, the stress was starting to get to me. I actually came up with a systemic rash across various parts of my body, which was extremely unpleasant. I sat through many blood tests. At one point I was on 17 pills a day.
Wow.
And it was rather getting to me. We couldn't identify what the allergic reaction was, so I ended up wearing respiratory protection in my workshop to stop myself breathing in any sawdust, and wearing rubber gloves when sanding and when doing any gluing up. But I didn't stop, I kept going. Then I had something that really annoyed me rather a lot. I had a phone call from the guy I'd asked to do the machining for all the metal parts that were going to go for the mechanism in the main chest. And he said, "Oh yeah, your materials arrived." I said, "Yeah, no, it's arrived. It was with you a month ago, wasn't it?" "No, it's arrived this morning." "Oh no. Right. Well, I'm coming to see you in 3 days. You can make all the parts for me in 3 days, can't you?" "No." So, with the machinist not being able to make the things in time, I quickly realised that no matter how much time I put in, I was never going to be able to deliver ready for IPP. So what I did, I continued the sort of production ethic of doing a process on each of the chests in turn, working my way along up until the end of June. Come the end of June, I then concentrated on getting one nice shiny one I would be able to display here at IPP. And there was a silver lining to this, because it meant that there was no way that I could deliver. It meant it was pointless me taking the extra time off work, and actually reduced a lot of the stress that was on me. So every cloud has a silver lining. Right then, the video. While working on the prototype in my workshop, I was busy oiling it up one evening and sanding down various bits of it. You see, this is the prototype. It's slightly different to the production one. The production one doesn't have this extra banding on it, and the actual handles is upside down, and higher up on the side, because I discovered that the weight that's in it, it's gets quite unwieldy, so you need to drop the centre of gravity a bit. So by lifting the handles up, it dropped the centre of gravity down and made it a bit more stable when carrying it. It actually weighed in at 5.5 stone with all the puzzles in it. So that is 35 kilos, so 70 pounds thereabouts, possibly a bit more. Yeah, it's quite weighty. I must admit, when I first picked it up, I nearly did myself some damage. But while working on this in my workshop, had the radio playing with Planet Rock, and there was a 1960s sort of hippie song that came on. I'd heard it many times before, but had never really taken much notice of the lyrics. And it was only while it was playing and having read the Alice in Wonderland books, I thought, wait a minute, this is about Alice in Wonderland. Of course, if I'd known the title of the song, it would have been a bit obvious that it was about Alice in Wonderland. And this actually inspired me to put together a video to actually advertise the project. So, put the video together, but we released it in sections, in gradually longer pieces throughout June, and emailed a few people to try and get them interested, and we had a number of views. But eventually we had to get a stooge to jump onto the IPP Facebook page and say, hey, look at this! So, thank you very much, John, if you're here.
Yep.
Right. So, you may have seen it on the small screen on your computers and things, but for the first time on the big screen, here's the video.